You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. We were back out at LSU practice on Tuesday. Media had viewing, and it was interesting because when you look down at the defensive backs, saw Sage Ryan down there. Saw number 15. This after Sage Ryan over the weekend had announced he was entering the transfer portal. And the news now is that Sage is remaining with the program. There's a couple of things here. So first of all, to reiterate, I would never say, shouldn't say never. I think it's hard to argue that losing a player with 3 years of experience is a good thing. Especially where you're thin and it's a position of need and you weren't very good this year. The other thing with Sage Ryan is he is in large part his time at LSU. I hate to use the word victim because that is such a negative connotation, and I don't mean it that way, but I'll use it, and hopefully you'll understand what I mean. He is a victim of recruiting, of expectations that stem from recruiting rankings. He was a 5-star. Everyone knew it. When you see a 5-star come into a program, there's always this sort of increased expectation on that guy. Right or wrong, that's what it is. And Sage Ryan spent his first year largely injured at LSU, and then as a sophomore, he backed up Greg Brooks at nickel. And let's be very honest. When Greg Brooks left and Sage Ryan went into the game, there was a notable drop-off. It's why Greg Brooks was starting. And then this year, Sage Ryan, in a year where LSU was very thin in the defensive backfield and really struggled, that's a guy that did everything that they asked. He played nickel, he played dime, he played outside corner, he played safety, played all over the field. And he didn't have a great year. But there's something to be said for guys who stay and develop and get better, and you are allowed to improve. See Jaden Daniels, who was a really good player in 2018, was a really good player in 2022, and then became the Heisman Trophy winner and had an historic season in 2023. Joe Burrow in 2018 was very similar. I'm not sitting here telling you Sage Ryan next year would be like a Defensive Player of the Year or a Thorpe Award candidate or anything like that, but could he improve? Yes. And it's a guy who's played in 30 games and has had a lot of production over his time at LSU. So when Sage Ryan was leaving, I wasn't necessarily going to argue that it was a good thing, because it's not good to lose a guy that has that much production, that much experience, but you need to be better in the secondary, and he was part of a very bad secondary this year. That's also undeniable. Well, now he's announced he's coming back. And a big part of why Sage Ryan is returning is because of what happened on Tuesday night. If you missed it, DeCamerion Richardson is a player from the state of Louisiana who spent his college career at Mississippi State. And LSU got a visit, and then after he left LSU, he visited Auburn, and then he visited Ole Miss, and he committed to Ole Miss. So DeCamerion Richardson, kid from Louisiana, who LSU desperately wanted, now is not coming to LSU. So LSU found itself in need of a experienced defensive back. And they had one on the roster, and so they went to Sage Ryan and were like, hey, man, we'd really love for you to stay. And so he is. If you ask me right now, who would I rather have playing corner next year for LSU, DeCamerion Richardson or Sage Ryan, that's not even a question. It's Richardson. 8 days a week. I mean, he's a better player. And Richardson is one of those long-rangey cornerbacks. 6'3", started all 12 games this year at Mississippi State. He's played a ton of football. And that Ole Miss staff has really reworked their defense. I mean, they have added not just players in the portal, but starting caliber players. Richardson, Tavon Nicholson from Illinois. Key Lawrence, a safety from Oklahoma. Lewis Moore, safety from Indiana. A defensive end, Princely Umanmielen from Florida, who had 11.5 tackles for loss and 7 sacks this season, one of the best edge rushers in the portal. They are the favorite to get Walter Nolan, the number one player in the portal interior defensive line from Texas A&M, who many people don't know is from Olive Branch, Mississippi originally, and this is an opportunity to get closer to home, and it's likely where he's going to end up. The point is, there's two ways of looking at this. Number one, yes, I'm glad to see Sage Ryan staying. I'm glad to see a player with that much experience who's from Louisiana, who has played a lot of positions in that defensive backfield for you, staying. But make no mistake, the player you wanted at that position that is now going to Ole Miss, that's a better player than what you have. There's nobody on LSU's roster right now at cornerback that's like Richardson. Now, I don't know how LSU's secondary dramatically improves next year. I could give you some hopes. J.K. Johnson, who transferred in last year from Ohio State, was injured in fall camp. He'll be healthy. Maybe he could be a dude. Don't know. Zy Alexander, who tore his ACL right before the end of the first half against Army. They're expecting he's going to rehab that ACL, come back. Maybe the combination of J.K. Johnson, Zy Alexander, really good. But do you really want to count on two dudes coming off of season-ending injuries playing at an all-conference caliber level? That's not a great option. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's not a great option. And you've got Ashton Stamps and Javen Toviano and Jeremiah Hughes, and some of those young freshmen that played a lot this year out of necessity. Maybe they take that next big step forward. You're not done in the portal. Maybe you can go find someone that's a starting caliber cornerback. But I think there are coexisting truths here, coexisting realities. Yes, number one is I'm glad Sage Ryan is staying. The fact that that's a Louisiana guy who's played in 30 games for you and played a lot of different positions, yes, I'm glad that he's staying. But it's also undeniable that you wanted Richardson from Mississippi State, a Louisiana kid who you thought you were going to get, and he took that visit to Ole Miss and promptly committed. And y'all, I'm going to tell you, you don't need me to tell you this, but I'm going to say it out loud. Right now, Ole Miss is a problem in 2024. Again, you're not going to like this. I get it. You're not going to like what I'm about to tell you. But that's a team that's 10-2. It's in the New Year's Six. They're getting Jackson Dart back. They're getting Quinshon Judkins back, best running back in the SEC, one of the best running backs in the country. Trey Harris, you remember him? He dominated LSU. He's coming back. And now you've added the best defensive players in the portal at 3 different positions. Edge rusher, cornerback. You're about to add Walter Nolan. I mean, Ole Miss is going for it because I don't know if you've looked at their schedule, but here it is. Ole Miss's schedule next year, they open up with Furman, then they play Middle Tennessee. Their non-conference Power 5 is at Wake Forest. Then they're home against Georgia Southern, home against Kentucky, at South Carolina, at LSU. Y'all, they're coming to LSU 6-0. Furman, Middle Tennessee, at Wake, Georgia Southern, Kentucky, at South Carolina. They're coming to Baton Rouge 6-0. Then they play at LSU, have an open date. They're home against Oklahoma. They go to Arkansas, which is going to be awful next year. They get Georgia at home, another open date before they go to Florida and get the Egg Bowl at home. Aside from the home game against Georgia, road game against LSU, show me the games where they're not a favorite. And they might come into Baton Rouge a favorite. They're going to start preseason top 10 next year. Book it. Ole Miss is going to start next year, preseason top 10. They're coming to LSU 6-0 and probably ranked in the top 5 in the country. And that is going to be a massive game. And Ole Miss, right now, they're looking at that schedule. And Lane knows he's getting Dart back and Judkins back and Harris back. Oh, they know with the guys they have coming back and that schedule, they know this is their shot. 12-team playoff, they are going all in this year. And I'm not just talking about trying to win the West. There is no West, but try to get to Atlanta. They are going all in to try to win the national championship. Few more pieces, the breaks fall their way, they could actually do it. Words I never thought I'd say about Ole Miss. But the path is paved. They have organized their collective. They have fundraised well. They have spent efficiently. And they have built an opportunity for themselves right now. And that's why Richardson is going to Ole Miss and not LSU. And I've told y'all this for a long time now. And a lot of people down on Nicholson don't like hearing me say this on air publicly. But it's true. And I'm going to keep saying it. You're looking at Ole Miss, that's a collective that's organized and well-funded. I've had people within that program tell me Ole Miss has raised $20 million in NIL funds for their collective since the start of NIL. That is an organized effort that they have. They're not the wealthiest school, far from it. But they are motivated and organized. LSU is not and has not been. They've gone through 2 different iterations of the collective. The guy they hired to run Bayou Traditions was here for 6 weeks before he got fired because he wasn't raising money. I'm telling you. Like, a lot of y'all get mad at me saying this, but you're getting mad at the truth. And they better get real over there about getting organized with their collective, because what you're seeing happen at Ole Miss right now ain't because Ole Miss has this laundry list of billionaires like Texas A&M. It's because they're motivated and they're organized, which LSU is not. And you better get there, or you're going to keep seeing more situations like this, where a kid from Louisiana who you thought you were going to get decides, I'm going to go to Ole Miss. I'm going to play for the Runts. Every league needs its doormat. LSU needs the Mississippi schools to be doormats. You need Arkansas to be a doormat because you got to play Bama every year and Florida every year. And now Oklahoma or Texas, whatever it's going to be, likely Oklahoma. You don't need the Runts being good, y'all. And they are knocking on the door. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.